My goodness, wowzers. I think to put it mildly, my heart is singing. My heart is singing. There aren't words. There really aren't words. I have been so overwhelmed by all of this. First and foremost, I get to unmute myself. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see so many of my favorite people on one Zoom. And that is definitely something that I never would have imagined I would be saying a couple years ago, the Zoom. I'm really glad that you're all here. I'm incredibly grateful for your support and humbled by your support. A very special thank you also to the incredible team of people that have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make tonight possible. It's been absolutely magical. Rochelle, the poem that you wrote and shared with us tonight was powerful, full stop. Thank you so much for generously sharing your brilliance with us. I was incredibly moved. Anna, Peggy, Butilla, thank you for nominating me and for your continued support. It really means a lot to me. You are folks that I have an incredible amount of respect for. Thank you again. I have to tell you, I have been absolutely, if you couldn't tell, I have been absolutely blown away by the number of people that have reached out to me to share their excitement as well as their desire to get involved. In fact, we've already had hundreds of people sign up to volunteer. Folks are excited and clearly ready for progressive change. To be honest, I see it every time I leave my apartment, from the smiles to that, "You got this," that I hear people emphatically shout. And then, of course, the excited waves from the youngest activists in this community. Kids from Queen Vic, from Parkdale, from Fern, from Garden, from Swansea, from Warren Park, Keele, Humbercrest, Howard, just about every school in the riding. Just today, we got a note from a volunteer who signed up. And then she wrote that her 5-year-old son would love to help. A 5-year-old. Apparently, he's been begging his mom to help on the campaign, and he can't wait to hand out flyers. A 5-year-old. I think at 5, I was just graduating out of Velcro. There is clearly an infectious excitement in our community, infectious in a good way, totally a good way. And I'm probably not supposed to mention the other guy this early on in my remarks, but to be honest, if I were him, I would be worried. I'd be really worried. I'd be dusting up my resume because change is coming. It's coming like a freight train. This is a movement. This is our movement. It's not about one person. It isn't even about the next election or even the one after that. Our movement is about our collective desire and commitment to build the type of society, the type of country that each and every one of us on this Zoom knows is possible. One that is fair, one that is just and welcoming, one that upholds and centers fundamental human rights. Whether it's honoring the rights of Indigenous peoples, protecting our right to food, our right to housing, our right to a healthy environment, and of course, long overdue for far too many, the right to clean drinking water. We refuse to believe that human rights are optional. No fine print, no exemptions, no loopholes, and no more delays. Human rights are human rights. They're not just for the rich, they're for each and every single one of us. Our gender, our sexual orientation, the color of our skin, or where we were born, none of that cancels out our human rights. Human rights are human rights. What's at the forefront of my mind is the realization that I wouldn't be here today, many of us wouldn't be here today, if it wasn't for the fierce activists that came before us. Activists that dared to dream about a better world. They have done an incredible amount of heavy lifting, and we're all benefactors of that labor. I think about my ancestors, those who were violently ripped from their homes, their communities, loaded onto boats, and then shipped across the Atlantic like cargo, and then sentenced to a life in chains and ongoing abuse. But you know what? Many fought back. They refused to accept a life in chains, and they made what seemed impossible to many a reality. Today, people that look like me, Black folks, we might be without chains, but we're not yet fully liberated. In this city, Black people are 20 times more likely to be shot by the police. Across this country, Black Canadians are 3.5 times more likely to be without the food that we need than white folks are. And it's for no other reason other than anti-Black racism. We're talking about food, something that we all need to survive, something that we all deserve. This is a time that requires bold and determined transformational change. But what we get from the Liberal government of the day is delay, denial, nice words, but no real progress. We have a government that's apparently headed by a feminist A feminist that's selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, a regime with one of the worst records when it comes to the rights of women. A feminist wouldn't promise a federal action plan in response to the calls for justice from the families of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, and then cavalierly announce that it's been delayed. There's no more time for delay, no denial or empty promises. It's time for justice. So our fight for a more just world will continue. It continues in me. It continues in all of us as we push back against every single oppressive system, institution, and policy. What we collectively face right now, horrendous human rights violations, growing income inequality, a housing crisis, runaway climate change, the rise of the far right, anti-indigeneity, anti-Asian racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Black racism, all of it, as difficult as it might seem, can and must be defeated. That's our work. I'm going to continue to do everything that I can to bring about the change that we so desperately need. It's going to take all of us. So I'm glad that you're in this with me. Because remember, one day we will be the ancestors that are remembered for fighting for a better world, for saving the planet, and for creating a more just world for all. You know, I've been passed a baton. It's been passed to me by my ancestors. I'd like for us to carry it together. We'll be less likely to drop it, and together we'll go farther than one person ever could. That's what this movement is about. That's what our movement is about. It's our time to lead. It's our time to bring about great change. And one day we will pass that baton on to others who will take it to places that we could never imagine. I am forever grateful for the previous carriers of the baton. Had they dropped it, I wouldn't be here today before you as a proud, openly gay Black man on my way to becoming your member of parliament. We've got work to do, and we've got to do it differently. We can't be under any illusions, especially when it comes to the lies that we've been told in the past. Trickle-down economics is a fairy tale. The free market is definitely not going to save us from climate change, this housing crisis, income inequality, and certainly not end the exploitation of workers. Folks say that the system is broken. That's nonsense. The system isn't broken. It's working just the way that those that are benefiting the most intended it to. You and I, we're busy scrambling, figuring out how best to support our neighbors that have been hardest hit by a global pandemic, on top of the suffering already caused by capitalism, neoliberalism, colonialism, and all the other wicked isms. All the while, the rich are getting richer and the planet suffers. We don't want or need those systems. Our movement is rooted in a vision for a sustainable future, for the planet and all of its inhabitants. No more kowtowing to the mega rich, to telecom giants, oil and gas barons, or anti-labor lobbyists. It's time for economic justice, because economic justice is gender justice, it's racial justice, it's climate justice, it's disability justice, it's migrant justice, it's food justice. It's the justice that we all know is possible. Heck, it's the Canada that we all know is possible. I feel deeply and incredibly honored to be part of our movement. We're going to do great things because our movement is a people-powered movement through and through. It even includes our 5-year-old friend handing out pamphlets to his neighbors. He's ready, I'm ready, and I know that you are too. Together, folks, together, friends, let's do this. Thank you.